Hello, I'm Toycat, and did everyone just see that? I think it was a perfect case of what I'm going to talk about, because I've got lots of comments over the last week saying, Toycat, you're being so melodramatic, talking about Bedrock being broken, when clearly that's just not true. And this is something that I actually encourage the thinking of. I think that being skeptical is a decent idea. However, I would say when it comes to Bedrock being broken, if you're not willing to look into all of the performance issues on the PC, or if you're willing to brush them away as just being recent things, let me use today's video to show you how Bedrock is broken by actually going into things that affect me on a daily basis. Here are Minecraft bugs that I go through every single day, not just occasionally when I load up the world, although that was very weird just to be clear, but also every single time I go into it, because as a first example, I want to show you something crazy that just seems so easy to fix and so odd that it's broken, because this is a chest that I fill with junk items, so it's not very organized. But one of the things that you might think is weird is that I have 2 stacks of ink sacs in the corner here, when clearly what I could just do is combine them. This is me being very wasteful, you might think, but here's what happens when I try to combine them. Oh, that's weird. Let me try that again. Okay, maybe it's just the mouse thing. Let me use a controller and let's try that again. Nope, you cannot combine these 2 ink sacs together. This is a common problem affecting ink sacs in particular, but I've heard of it happening with other items for other people. Sometimes Minecraft items just refuse to stack together, and this is frustrating because effectively there are multiple types of the same item in your world. Why is this the case? I can't possibly think, but the only way to fix this would be to take these ink sacs and then convert them into black dye, which means I'd have to lose those. Oh, wait. Sorry, it's the other ones that I can convert into black dye. These are ink sacs that won't turn into black dye. What are they then? Okay, I've never. I only ever tested the other stack, I guess. This is an example of Minecraft being broken. Is it fair to say? Is that a reasonable complaint for me to make? I think that it is. However, as far as Minecraft issues go, it is just something that affects me when I go into chests, and most people don't actually use ink sacs on a daily basis, so still, you might say, Toycat, I'm not sure that warrants Minecraft Bedrock being broken, and so let me show you my second issue, which is one that anyone who has any amount of minecart or auto systems will face, because this is an automatic bamboo farm. Yes, it's very large, and a lot of people have even tried to say that this is responsible for all of the lag that I feel. However, you'll actually notice that it doesn't actually activate very often because it doesn't grow very fast, so it looks like an intense redstone machine, but the only active moving parts in this are the minecarts. There's a minecart that goes around and collects all of this bamboo, and I could wait here all day, but the minecart won't come round. This sure is a shame, but the reason for this is, I'm going to go look for the minecart now, the reason for this is that minecarts actually bug whenever they get beyond 4 chunks away from you. What is meant to happen is Minecraft has something called a simulation distance, and anything outside of that simulation distance doesn't need to be simulated. So if I get more than 4 chunks from this farm, I understand that it won't be rendered in and therefore growing, but what actually happens is when it de-renders, minecarts lose all of their momentum, which means every single time I come back here, if I want the farm to run, I have to manually push those minecarts around. This means that any automatic farms aren't truly automatic. Again, we'll leave aside the fact they have way lower yield than they're meant to, because Bedrock, when it tries to work out whether things should grow, it checks whether they should grow in the negative space, and it really reduces the growth. We're not going to get into the super in-depth about why the growing is broken. Instead, we'll just say that if you want to have any farm that has any minecarts, you have to stay near it permanently, or it will break every single time you leave it. Is that broken enough? Okay, maybe not. The third issue I face is my bees. I have a bunch of bees flying around a bee, which I've just accepted like, oh, that kind of looks like I'm intentionally doing it, but I'm not. Just to be clear here, I have multiple times now tried to grow a bunch of bees inside my bee, so I have this big set of bee nests right here, or beehives, and every single one of these beehives is contained fully inside of my bee. So how do these bees ever get out? Well, I worked out from deduction that what happens is that bees are able to leave a beehive and then actually skip through a block. That means that even though there is a block right behind them right here, they can actually go through it, and in particular, they seem to be able to go through the roof. This means that even though there is no access to the outside world for these bees, and no way for them to get back, they're all spawning on the outside of it anyway, which I find to be frustrating personally. This is a small bug, and sure, there are hundreds of thousands of others That sounds like an exaggeration, but there have been hundreds of thousands of reported bugs, because if you look at the most recent bug report, this is the number on it. And a lot of those bugs are duplicates, a lot of those bugs are fixed, but the fact is, I fully believe that there are thousands of bugs because of how many I go through on a daily basis. Again, I'm not talking about bugs that like, oh yeah, well technically if you did this weird niche thing it would happen. I'm talking about things that happen in my Let's Play world. Even if we leave aside the concept of like, well, some of these bugs only happen in your Let's Play world because they're old, I've left aside anything that you could explain by saying, this is an old world, this is a console edition world, etc. But the next one is something that happens on every world, new or old, and it's whenever I go to the Nether or come back. This is something that I kind of want to explain to you, but I don't think I need to, because I think that every time I go between dimensions, something really weird happens, and it's that the game gets really laggy. This is because you have to load in a bunch of chunks, and I actually kind of get the lag by itself. Don't get me wrong, it's not desirable or anything, but it makes some sense. But what's weird is that the Nether only has a render distance of about 10 chunks because of the fog anyway, and so what is happening is the game is loading in chunks that I'm never actually going to see. And so this lag that you see when we come back to the overworld is maybe understandable, but why do we see something like this? First of all, why doesn't it just load in the chunks slower? I mean, I could, if we're being picky about how we want things to be programmed, that's what I would do, but why does this need to happen in the Nether? You don't need to load chunks that are 55 chunks away from me in the Nether, because I can only see things as far away as the sniffer. This is something that I guess I could complain about, but in a way, it's kind of complimenting Bedrock by saying it has a super high render distance, and so can we really complain? Well, yeah, actually, that's what this video is. But let's now talk about some other very small things, because, again, I really did experience the memory leak every single day. It made my game unplayable. You can watch my stream where I discovered it for the first time. It's this one where I tried to build like a normal person.
Oh, God, it sucks. Everything's just slow and broken. And so we'll see if we can't do something about this. So we'll go into our video settings and we'll do what the standard Minecraft player does, and so we'll just turn our render distance down to 8 chunks. As you can see, the game is not fixed by that, so it's not a render distance issue. It is a RAM issue, but apparently lowering your render distance does not fix it.
I switched to Java midway through that video because I didn't know what else to do. However, what's interesting is there are so many other bugs that annoy me on a daily basis that aren't worth not playing over. They just mean I can't play how I want to. Let me give you a good example. We won't talk about the pause menu. Not a bug, that's intentional design. There's lots of intentional design I disagree with, but what I don't agree with is this. This is my Let's Play World copy that I showed you all these things on. It's actually one I downloaded from my realm, and when I downloaded it from my realm, it gave me this title. Let us play 12, because that's the name of the world, and then the date and the exact minute that the copy was made. So here's the interesting thing about this copy. I want to rename that because that's a very unwieldy title, but look what happens. This is the backspace key, you'll have to trust me. I'm pressing it and nothing is working. Why is that the case? Well, because obviously, and I say obviously with a little bit of anger in my breath, obviously the title is too long, and so you aren't able to make titles that are this long if you're curious, and if it gets above the title character limit, which the game did for me by the way, then you're not able to edit your title at all. Whoa. Wait, that's the first time I've ever gone through it. Wow, exciting. Okay, no, take that off the list. See, this is why skepticism is important. I've tried so many times to get past that, but yet, if you had just hit the backspace key more than 20 times in a row in just the right part of the title, I'm guessing I had to be in the part of the title that was before the character limit, you can actually get through it, and so should I complain about that? Yeah, but way less if there's a fix around it. This is how many Minecraft bugs feel. If you can get around them, what's the problem? Speaking of getting around things, Minecraft Bedrock currently has a huge problem, and let me show it to you. So this is, let's jump around, this is my settings menu right here, and let me show you something interesting, which is that if I try to open this Minecraft pack, this is Prisma Visuals, if we try to open this in regular Minecraft, do you want to see what's going to happen? It's going to ask how I want to open this file, and we're going to say Minecraft for Windows, please. And then we're going to go back to Minecraft, and we're going to wait patiently for it to open. Well, the GDK versions which they did, I can complain about many things about it. My game is crashing randomly, there was a memory leak, the cursor issue still isn't fixed, despite having been acknowledged. There's lots of issues I could complain about. Yes, yes. However, the thing I'd like to complain about is the fact that you can't import packs right now. You can import worlds, there's a workaround, so if I show you the same thing, I can't import my Mounts of Mayhem guide world. This is going to be about the... It's going to be about Nautilus. I'm very excited to talk about some new features. I actually think that there's, for the average player, the next update is quite an exciting one, but I can't import the guide world because it's not possible. There is a workaround for this, though, to press import world, and then we can go in here and we can click our world from there. However, we cannot import a texture pack in the same way, and so you actually are kind of screwed if you want to do this. This is a big problem, in my humble opinion, but speaking of my humble opinion, let's go into a brand new world now, because all of these issues, again, to be really skeptical, I am of the belief that genuinely skepticism is important to some extent. I think that you can be too, skepticism is basically the opposite of common sense, and a lot of common sense becomes wrong. If you are to ask very simple questions, you might have a common sense response, but the common sense response is often incorrect. So it's worth sometimes actually questioning what it is you know and how it is you know it. Sometimes on the internet, people will share things and act like, yeah, this single image where I put text on an image, that is proof that this thing is happening. I saw one recently confirming a brand new update to a game, and it's like, yeah, if everyone knows that's true already, that's a fine way to talk about it, but as far as actually sharing sources, it's important to go back to, someone's verified social media account, or a news post from a decent establishment that you can trust, and so I think that this is a really important thing that you should do when talking about any piece of knowledge you know. If you think that you know something is happening, actually you might have seen it in a video, and maybe that video maker plays it up for the sake of, making it look worse. This is something, and to be fair, in this video, I'm exclusively showing you the bad bits. I'm not showing you an average person's playthrough, I'm showing you the very worst bits that you have in a world after so long, and the fact that I can only point to a dozen examples does prove that it's only broken to that extent, right? And so in a similar vein, I want to talk about something that is broken that everyone will experience, but actually, because this is an example of something that is just horrific, let's make a crafting table, and then let's make myself, let's say, a boat. How do we make the boat? Well, here you can see something very messy happens. It's called, it's the crafting toggle not being set to craftable only by default. This isn't very bad when you only have some oak planks, but if you also have a bunch of flowers, let's pick these up, if you also have some feathers and you've got all sorts of recipes that are unlocked, what ends up happening is, let's kill the cow over there too, what ends up happening is you get this real messy inventory where it's hard to actually find out what you want to craft. This is a real big problem for people who play the foraging style of Minecraft, because by the time you get to a crafting table, you might have all of these ingredients, and when you want to just find the sticks so you can make a pickaxe that's actually looking pretty reasonable right here, it's really, really, really nightmarish. I've had such a hard time with this so many times, and also another complaint is that you can't craft a boat, even though you can, until you've been in water. Who decided that would be a good feature? But even more importantly, yeah, it's a nightmare to craft things in Bedrock, and the fact that things move around as you craft and sometimes make you craft the wrong things can be very frustrating. Also, I will look at this, there we go. This is a good example of it is hard to know where the item you want to craft is going to be, because it's seemingly a random list from the things that you can craft. It's always different based on what you actually have. But speaking of always different, this is just a game design concern. Why doesn't this work? Why can you craft blue and red into purple? Why can you craft blue and white into light blue? And red and yellow into orange? We've got all the primary colors, and even some of the not primary colors here. But yeah, if you want green dye, this is just not a thing that you can do. That's a minor complaint of mine. But speaking of minor complaints, I think that the list of issues that we could talk about do go on and on and on, but ultimately, as you think about it, right, if you've watched this video, you can take one of two conclusions away from it. One of those conclusions should certainly be that even someone who likes Bedrock and plays it every single day, and even someone who is willing to throw aside as many issues as aren't that obvious or relate to his world being super old, because if we don't throw aside those issues, we get into the world of oh, did you know I've got oceans that are just melting super slowly for no good reason in really weird, inconsistent ways, making my world look ugly that I now have to fix. that is frustrating. If you leave aside the issues you don't face every day, you'll ignore the fact that about once a week, my inventory just doesn't load. You can see in this clip right here, I even go into third person because I'm like, what the heck is happening? You can hear in the clip here in the background that I'm pressing the button, but it's just not opening for a solid while. Why is that the case? I genuinely do not know. Also, you can see at the very end here, so I recently finished my big tower. I'm very proud of it, by the way. I finished my big tower in my Minecraft world. It's very, very nice. But at the same time, when I went to go get a view of it, I stood over here, and while I was just looking at my tower, doing nothing, I got damaged. Do you see that little hit that I took? Why does that happen? I don't know. But yeah, as much as you can, as fun as it is to bring up the most niche and rare of bugs that happen here or there, it's not actually necessarily my style. I think those bugs are important, and those are the ones that can bring attention to the broader issue. But the broader issue is the things that I bring up in these videos and the things that come up a lot, the things that have the most reports on them, the things that seem so broken that at some point you start to live your life working around them, are the things that actually need to be fixed the most, because Minecraft is a janky game. It's a janky game that will decide your ocean needs to melt, but only in these weird segments right here. Minecraft is a janky game, and in some ways it can be lovable for being that way. But I also would say that it's important that the jank, that the weirdness doesn't become the identity just by default. And with that said, if you want to see some game design, but genuinely not broken, just game design decisions. With that said, I would say that being skeptical is good. And I actually welcome people to the channel who say like, well, you know, Toy Cat, I've seen a lot of videos on this, but how do I know they're correct? And I hope that you would understand that when I share things, even news, I go through actually quite great lengths to make sure that I'm showing you something that I believe to be true. I've the amount of time I've spent verifying random game file leaks and stuff like this, it's really important that when I can, I share things that are true, and if I am not sure that they are true, I share them both to the best of my knowledge, and I share why it is that I believe it. If you find something on the internet that doesn't quite look believable, the skeptical belief would be, well, don't trust anything you don't see with your own eyes. There's actually the next level of skepticism that says, don't even trust your own senses. Sometimes your senses lie to you, and that is true, but we won't go into the next level here. But the truth is that you could just say, yeah, I won't believe it. I will not believe anything until I see it with my own eyes. But then you'll miss out on a lot of information. Then you'll be out of the loop in a lot of ways. And weirdly, I would not recommend going full skeptical mode. But I would say that when you learn something from a single image with no source, you can learn people think this way. People believe this to be true. And it's important to know the gap between that and reality. Because if you, by the way, also, so I flew away and I've come back. And notice how the minecarts did break. I technically didn't show you enough earlier for you to know that that is true. But here I am, minecarts are not working, even though I just pushed them around, and I can guarantee this track will run forever if I stay around it, because Minecraft has so many issues about what happens on chunk borders, and you don't have to take my word for it. Hopefully, you can take my gameplay for it. But even then, if you want to be the next level of skeptical, right? How do you know I didn't doctor this video? I've showed my Minecraft world, and it didn't show any, texture packs or cheats or anything enabled, but at the same time, how do you know I didn't alter my files so that it wouldn't show that way? When you get to a certain level of skepticism, you do get ridiculous. You do have to say, how do I know that what I've seen is true? And I do think that when it comes to YouTube, there actually is an incentive to believe the opposite is that way. And so it's worth thinking, what would be the incentive of someone lying to me right now? When it comes to just your friend telling you something casual, probably no incentive to lie. And so the worst you're ever going to get is lying by, accident, or lying because it's a fun thing to talk about. Whereas when you start to get to the level of publications or of YouTube channels, yeah, there actually is an incentive for me to lie to you right now and to have made up all these bugs that don't really happen. Now, those ink sacs weren't real. It's all a lie. But that would be, to tell you that, to be honest, would be a lie. Because ultimately, you do have to trust that most of the world is operating in good faith. But even amongst good faith actors, a lot of people will lie by accident. A lot of people will lie by omission. And so that's why it's important to know what you're getting into. With that said, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed this Let's Play. If you did, you can enjoy the rest of the playlist. We're at 600 and something episodes now, as well as the member-only ones, which a lot of people have been enjoying recently. Maybe that will include you too. But thank you very much for watching. I have only scratched the surface of bugs that I experience in Minecraft, but hopefully you've seen the ones that I see daily, and hopefully this is a awareness for anyone who doesn't play Bedrock that yes, it is broken. Not to the craziest degree all the time, that's quite a recent phenomenon, but it always has just major things that you assume are going to be fixed, but aren't, and hopefully they are soon. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one at noon. I don't upload at noon, I just want it to rhyme. I do it all the time. Do do do. Do do do. Do do do. Do 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 do. Do do do. Do do do. I've got to go now. I was meant to go 2 minutes ago, but I got too into this. I'm gonna be late. Ugh, I'm never late anywhere.